So welcome everyone to the third part of our series, the Color Me series, and today we have the amazing, authentically fierce Ceri Coxon with us today. Just a brief reminder, so we have been looking at the 8 qualities and we're looking at some of the qualities that allow us to show up in a human-centered way. And in particular, in this Women's Month, we have decided to pull through different women that I've worked with who really exhibited these amazing attributes of humanity. And it would be lovely to explore how they bring these into their work, what it looks like on a Wednesday, and possibly what are some of the challenges of showing up in this way. So we will look at authenticity and fiercely in that way, because I've really seen Ceri show up in an authentic manner that I admired and I wished I could do for myself. So Ceri, welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So Ceri, when we chose you for Fiercely Authentic, what came up for you? Because I remember you sent me an email and you're like, really?
Yeah, no, I think I just focused on the fiercely. That made me laugh. I was like, what, am I really fierce? Because fierce almost had negative connotations for me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So fierce seemed like aggressive, and I didn't want to be thought of as aggressive. But then obviously when you put fiercely authentic together, it feels like something quite different, because it almost means you're fiercely defending, if you like, or protecting your authenticity. So then it kind of made sense to me, but it was just, my initial reaction was fiercely. I'm not fierce.
Well, the reason why we put that, I don't know whether it's an adjective or an adverb.
Yeah, no,
always
don't ask me.
anyway.
I speak English, I don't know it.
Was, with authenticity, there's the assumption sometimes that, when you're being authentic, you're just being yourself. And with women in particular, they really show up in a way that protects themselves, And for you, the energy that I got was, when we first met and during the interactions, was this woman is her whole self. And in a way that is so true and so grounded. I remember sharing with you the reasons why I thought that is true. And it's admirable, and you're very, when you do it, which is almost all the time, you do it in a way that's very precise, that's very direct, and this is what it is for me, and anything beyond that, I'm not being myself. And we struggle so much, I think, to show up in that way, because many a time there are expectations of us. And the way I really work with you and understand you is, I don't want to show up in any way that's not myself. So hence the fierce. And kind of thought of the Beyonce. Beyonce has the alter ego Sasha Fierce.
Oh,
so it's more like power.
Yeah.
So now that you got that,
Yes.
do you then agree with the term fierce?
No, I absolutely see what you mean. And I think, yes, I mean, from my point of view, I always try and be myself. I think it's really important. And I think it stems from, I think, a lot to do with the way I was brought up. In terms of being who you are and not giving in to peer pressure, being proud of who you are. You're different, we're all unique, but actually we've all got something to offer. So don't try and hide that, if you know what I mean, and fit in with everyone else and pretend that that's not what you're thinking or that's not who you are. I don't think that's worth it. And I think certainly, like I say, from the way I was brought up, it was stand up for what you believe in, and I think that's what I try and do.
And how has that helped you, like in the journey of leadership and the journey of your own work, standing up for yourself? Has that always worked in your favor?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it is positive for me, definitely, because I think the energy that you use trying to be somebody else or something else and trying to hide what you really are is just all-consuming. And I definitely don't have enough time and energy to try and be something else. So I've always, that's one thing. And I mean, like I said, I didn't realise that at the time, but later on in your life, you start to realise that actually, you're spending too much energy trying to be something you're not. And that's hard work. Whether it's always been the right thing to do, maybe not, do you know what I mean? Because sometimes it gets me into trouble, or sometimes people, are like, well, why are you challenging that? Or can't you just come in line? And I mean, what normally happens in those situations is I'm very comfortable to say my piece and be an opposing view. But actually, if the team decide that's the direction they're going in, I can very much go in that direction with the team, having said my piece. Do you know what I mean? So as long as people realise where I'm coming from. I haven't got a problem. Do you know what I mean, from that point of view?
I think what's interesting about what you're saying is authenticity for you doesn't mean that you don't hear what others have to say, but you say your piece as well, in as much as their piece has been said. And I found that that's not always easy to do, especially when others are going in a different direction. And you've spoken to how being brought up in that way has helped you. What is it in particular that you really remember that has contributed to that ability to really say, this is what I think, this is what I believe in, and this is my piece to say, but I hear what yours is?
Yeah, no, and I think it is really important to make sure that once you've stated your piece, you're prepared to listen to other people's. And I think, where my strength, if you like, comes from to actually stand up and say what I believe. I do remember in my childhood my dad making us watch a video clip or a bit on a TV program where somebody had lots of people in a group, teenagers, and one of the teenagers was the one they were playing the trick on, if you want to call it that, or the experiment on. And so all the other people got told, when the presenter tells you a number, so if the number is 5, you've all got to repeat what you heard was 6. So even though the guy said 5, you're all going to say, I heard 6. And the person who they're playing the experiment on obviously didn't get told that instruction, so he heard 5. So then they go along the line and everyone goes 6, 6, 6, 6. And you can see this person looking really confused and panicking and like, oh, should I say 6 like everyone else, or should I say 5 because that's what I heard? And often, 9 times out of 10, they actually say 6 as well, because they think, how can all these people be wrong, it must be me, and therefore they changed what they heard. And I remember my dad saying to me at the time, I hope you never succumb to peer pressure like that. That would be terrible, kind of thing. You've got to stick up, and stand up for what you heard or what you believe is right. And I think that stuck with me, forevermore, if you like, that don't be put off because what you heard actually could be right. Yeah, so that I think, something as simple as that, but that sticks in my head.
So what you're speaking to here is you're integrating your life as a child into your adult life, and that's what you've carried throughout. As a leader, how do you integrate authenticity in how you lead and in your team? How do you encourage that, and what does that look like sometimes?
And I think the one thing for me is I also learned that every one of us is very different. Do you know what I mean? We all come with our own background, our own DNA, our own unique experiences. And therefore to try and bring that out is really important. Because I think what some people end up doing in a business is they try to succumb to be like the culture or be like everybody else. And actually that's not helpful. You almost need the people to bring their own self. So I think in terms of during team sessions and whatever, it's very much look for those differences, if you like, and ask people to continue to share their thoughts and their beliefs. So I think it's, pull it out where you can and look for those opportunities to let people bring their difference.
Since the focus really is a lot around women in this Women's Month, what do you really feel like stops women from showing up as their authentic selves within the workplace? What have been your experiences and what have you observed? I don't know how long you've been working, but in the X amount of years, what's your sense of it?
Yeah, I think as women, our place is often to be the mediator, if you like, and to be the one who solves the problems and brings things together. And so I think in the workplace that can also happen. And that can mean that sometimes you're busy trying to sort everyone else out, that actually you don't worry about yourself. I think it's the same in family situations. The woman of the house is trying to make sure everyone's sorted and looking after the family, they don't look after themselves. And I think that does also follow through slightly into the workplace sometimes, that, as a woman in the team, you're the one trying to sort everything out, make sure everyone's happy and coordinate things, but you're not adding your voice. And I think a lot of the time it's important that you take the time to make sure you share your thoughts. So, I very much, for my own self, make sure I, have a voice. I think it's really important. And I really encourage everyone else, especially women, to have a voice. because I think a lot of the time they almost, I don't know, take second place sometimes, especially to men in authority. And so I think from that point of view, it's really important to make sure you stand up and have that voice.
Honestly speaking, as you are explaining this, I'm looking at myself and thinking, oh my God, the number of times that I have done the same thing. And it's very natural to step into that. Okay, so women are organizers, we sort out everything. But we forget then that we are also in the workplace, and one of the most important things that we bring is our voice.
Absolutely.
Not just making sure that things work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I also think, from an authority point of view, again, a bit of my background in that is my dad was a school teacher, and they had obviously lots of school teacher friends. And obviously, as a kid, school teachers are authority. They are the authority you look up to. But what I realised, having met teachers in very social environments, if you like, is we're all just people. Do you know what I mean? So whilst they might be an authoritative figure in the school, the classroom, actually they're the same as everybody else outside. And I think that's also helped me as I've gone through my work, time, is that, whilst you're sitting talking to a CEO of a company and you might just be a little graduate, actually they are still just a person, and therefore, they should listen to your view as much as anybody else. So I also sort of keep that kind of thing in my head. We're all the same, even though they might be sitting in the bigger chair behind the bigger desk,
That's beautiful, because you're talking to meet someone first at their human point. And that will allow you, if you bring that into awareness, your own personal awareness, that allows you to bring your authentic self. And one of the challenges, I guess, is you're scared of the person's position, like you said, and you think, I'm a woman, especially if the person is male, what would I bring to the table? And the humanity piece is powerful, because if you meet me at a human level, then we can take it up from there. Whatever else comes after the humanity. And maybe I don't know if you've ever suffered from imposter syndrome. It's really huge for women when they find themselves, especially women of color sometimes, in these positions where, can I bring my authentic self? How will that be held? What advice would you give?
That 100% you must, because I think your authentic self is what actually everyone wants to see, and the experiences you've had are unique. The position you're in is unique, so no one else can give the voice like you can. Do you know what I mean? You are the only one who can share that because of your uniqueness. So that's why for me it's so important that you do it, rather than you think, well, someone else will say it or someone else will do it. No, they won't. They can't do it like you can do it. It's got to come from you.
No, they won't. I like that. It's got to come from you.
Yeah.
How do you balance bringing your authentic self into the workplace, your life? How do you manage to have that healthy balance going on?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those things, what you see in the office is what you'll see out of the office with me as well. Do you know what I mean? I'm not that much different. I don't try and be something else. You know what I mean? Like I said to you earlier, I haven't got the time and energy for that. Even down to the kind of clothes I wear. Do you know what I mean? What I wear in the office, you'll pretty much find me out on a Saturday probably, unless I'm playing tennis. Clearly I'm in tennis clothes. But you know what I mean? There isn't a difference. I don't, put a mask on when I come into the office either. I am who I am. I do think you have to balance though, and there is a boundary, because in this day 24/7 you can be working, do you know what I mean, because of phones and all those kind of things. So you do have to have some cut-off points where actually I'm not working at this moment in time and I have to have that shut off. For me that's going walking on the mountain. I don't take my phone with me, so those times are just for me, if you like. I go swimming in the ocean, I can't have my phone with me, do you know what I mean? So that's my time to think and process and all that kind of stuff. So definitely I think you've got to draw the line, because otherwise you can work 24/7, so there isn't an end to work anymore, do you know what I mean? Not when you leave the office or anything like that. So you have to put those boundaries in, and I think it's really important that you do.
And talking about boundaries, there's huge from what I'm hearing. How do you encourage women in the workplace to hold boundaries as a form of authenticity to themselves? Because like you're saying, we can work 24/7, and once more the woman comes through, like I have to sort everything out. But how do you encourage the holding of boundaries?
I mean, I think first of all you've got to know the boundary yourself. So I mean, I think that's important. So at what point is it for you that you're going to say no, no more? And I think you've got to be clear, if that's your boundary, you state it, do you know what I mean, very clearly, and you stand by it. Now I think obviously you can also offer alternatives, do you know what I mean? So I can't do it tonight from 7 till midnight, but I'm happy to do it in the morning from 8:30 till 9 or whatever, do you know what I mean? So offer an alternative, or offer someone else who can do it. I know someone else who can do it for me or whatever. It doesn't always have to be, you know, you. So I think the first point for me is know your boundary and then, you know, stick to it, but offer alternatives, you know, in terms of what that could look like.
Know your boundary. So know thyself, and authenticity, you're speaking there to knowing yourself and the power of knowing yourself. Because if you don't know yourself, then you can't offer the boundaries and what's too much for you. I also like the fact that you offer alternatives and solutions. So this is not possible for me, but you could look into other avenues of doing that. And once more, you're saying it and you're putting it out there. We generally work in mostly a male-dominated environment, especially the higher that you go, unless if it's specifically a women-owned organization. And what advice would you give women who want to be their authentic selves in environments that are not largely dominated by women in decision-making, whatever else that might be?
I think just, again, believe in yourself. Do you know what I mean? You've got to where you've got to because of who you are. So that should also carry you on further. You shouldn't have to change, you know, from that point of view. So for me, absolutely believe in yourself. You know, what you've got and your voice is important. You know, no one else can do it like you can do it. And, you know, be ready to go and do it. You know, go up there, go to the top level job. Do you know what I mean? There shouldn't be anything stopping you. You know, the only thing I think that does stop you is you.
As a leader, what is your vision for women in the workplace? If you had a wand and you're like, I want to change things here for women in particular around the theme of authenticity, what would you want for them?
I mean, I think, so in my early career at Tesco, I was asked to be on a women's group, a women in management group. And it was quite interesting because I was in a bit of a dilemma with it, if I'm honest. So half of me was quite honoured that they wanted me on there. But the other half of me was, we shouldn't be having groups that are about women in management because we shouldn't be different to anybody else. Do you know what I mean? We should actually all just be in management, you know, and there shouldn't be women or men in management. It should just be we're in management. And so I was like in that dilemma of the fact that actually the fact we have to say women in management is a problem
in
itself is a problem. Do you know what I mean? So I was almost like I say, in this dilemma. But I did go along on it, and I mean, I think, you know, the biggest part for me, or my ambition, was that group shouldn't exist, because actually there shouldn't be any issues, there shouldn't be any differences, you know. And if, for me, that would be a great vision to have achieved, that you don't kind of call out that women are a minority in management, or women have a problem being in management. You know, you shouldn't have to have groups that look at that. It should just be, you know, as is.
So your vision then would be that there are no groups for women in management, that women are accepted as normal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know,
absolutely.
a part of management.
Equal, yeah.
Yes.
No differences,
Yeah. And how are you contributing in your current role, or in creating that kind of environment where there isn't the us and them around managing?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so for me, it's a bit like, you know, diversity in itself. Diversity is really important, but it's almost like if you see it and single it out, you can also act in the wrong way as well. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, the team I just managed actually was all women apart from one man, and we almost had to make sure he felt okay, because, you know, there was a lot of women around the table. So, I mean, you know, from my point of view, it's encourage women to move on and feel like they can go far. Do you know what I mean? If that's what they want. So very happy to help coach people from that point of view, coach women in that way, encourage them. But also, you know, in a group environment, almost try not to see sex, try not to see colour, just see people, just see humans. You know, that would be the ideal.
Ceri, do you wish there was a question I would have asked you around authenticity and what it has meant to you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think for me, you've got to be who you are, because like I said to you, we're all unique individuals. And we're all unique because, we all come from different backgrounds, we had different DNA in us, we've had different experiences, and all of that together makes us, who we are. And that's what people should be interested in, is who you are. And that's what you should stand up for, and that's what you should shout about.
Why do you think the world finds it difficult, for example, for women or people to show up as who they are? What's the underlying issue, in your opinion, that stops us from stepping forward as who we are? So much that this has to be a topic in itself, that we have to encourage authenticity. What's not encouraging authenticity?
I think cultural norms. So I think no one wants to be different, I think, is the problem. Everyone wants to be the same. So, and I think you go through school, and you all want to look the same. You all want to have the same length hair. You all want to have the same. And, I always wanted long straight hair. My hair isn't straight. It's never going to be straight. So actually embrace it for what it is. I've tried making it straight. That's a lot of time and effort in the morning. That's a silly example, but you know what I mean? We all want to be, we all want to be, I don't know, that social norm that we think is the best. But actually, I think, for me, if society could get rid of that kind of thing, it would be super helpful.
You've touched on something really important there, where we all want to be the norm. And I guess the struggle in stepping forward and being yourself is understanding what's the norm for you. But there's also something about belonging with others, and what belonging looks like. If the culture is of straight hair, then you come with the curly hair, You want to be part of the straight hair gang because for some reason it makes you feel better, for some reason you look like the others. But accepting yourself for who you are is not easy, and I guess it's possibly our life's work.
No, I think it is. And like I say, it is. I think clearly there is an element, as humans we want to belong. I'm not disputing that at all, and I think that is really important. But you can belong in so many different ways. Do you know what I mean? So
Tell me more.
Well, you can belong to a gang, so if it's the swimming gang, or it's the tennis crowd, or it's the crowd who like books, or it's the crowd who want to go for walks or whatever. But you don't have to look the same. So if I look at a group of swimmers, we all look completely different. We've all got different shapes, different hair sizes, different tool length, whatever. You look, there are differences. You look at a group of footballers, they're all different, but they're all part of the football gang. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's important that you belong, but still keep your authentic self. That means I've got my personal differences. Do you know what I mean? I am who I am.
So I guess then the role in leadership is an opportunity to create spaces where people can be different but still belong.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I say, it's that dilemma. And going back to my earlier point, do you know what I mean? I wish there wasn't women's groups, but I wanted to be part of it to change it. Do you know what I mean? It's almost the same. You want to belong, but you want to make sure you've still got your differences. And I think it's the yin and yang of life at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? That's what's important. But they can still sit together. So I think once you realise that you can be different but still part of that group, that's when you win, I think, because that's when it works.
The acceptance that I can be different but still belong,
yes.
And defining what would create an environment that means I can belong. And sometimes maybe what I'm hearing from you is challenging your beliefs around belonging. Does belonging mean letting go of who I am?
Yes.
Does belonging mean amplifying who I am and finding my space?
Yes, absolutely.
In all that?
Absolutely. No, I think that's vital.
Any special message to the audience, Ceri, around authenticity, belonging, who you are, anything that you want to share?
Go and be fiercely authentic, because fiercely is not bad, remember. No, I mean, I think be passionate about who you are, and remember, you're the only one who is you. You are unique.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. That was Ceri Coxon for us on Being Fiercely Authentic.